Hi, I'm Diane Hendricks, and welcome to Fresh to Frozen and Back. This show is going to make your life easier. In each episode, I'm going to show you how to prepare delicious and better for you meals, then how to freeze them properly and bring them back to the table at another time. This episode is all about one-bite appetizers. I love one-bite appetizers. In my catering business, that's actually my favorite kind of party, when we just pass around these individual one-bites. And they're really great at home for entertaining when someone comes over or during a holiday. First up, fiery chicken meatballs. There's nothing better than that hot sauce with a little bit of blue cheese and a little celery. And I'm using ground chicken, but you can also use ground turkey. You can actually use ground beef, anything you like. So we're gonna get our hands in here because you can't make meatballs without making a mess. So here's all you do. This is super simple. Okay, so we have ground chicken in here, and we're just gonna add a bunch of ingredients. I have some panko breadcrumbs. I like them because they have like a nice crunch, and they don't have seasoning in them, so you can use your own seasonings and you're not stuck with what's already in seasoned breadcrumbs. Then we have an egg, and that's what's gonna bind it. This is lightly beaten. We have a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of granulated garlic, and we also have your favorite hot sauce. Any kind that you like, and as much as you like. You gotta think about the people that are gonna be eating it though too. So I like a lot of spice, but my kids don't like it as much as I do, so you gotta kind of gauge who you're serving it to. Okay, and then we're gonna also add some celery leaves. You get the celery and you just take the leaves of the celery and you just chop it up really finely. It gives it a really nice flavor. And that's all there is to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the spoon first to kind of get it all together, and then I'm gonna get my hands in there, which is really, it's fun. You can get the kids to do this too, as long as they wash their hands before and after. Okay, so we've got a little bit of that incorporated. Now I'm just gonna get down and dirty. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna get your hands in there and really mix this all up. My hands are clean, not anymore. Once we get this all together, you're just gonna take it in little portions. You don't need to use a spoon or anything. What I like to do, so you get the same size meatball all the time, is you kind of like gauge how much you're gonna grab. So it depends on the size of the meatball. I think this is a good size for this, so you're just gonna roll them up. You're just gonna roll them into balls, and then you're going to just place them on a baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper. And you're just gonna do that for the rest of these meatballs. Okay, so after we cook these up, we're gonna freeze whatever we have left over, or you can even make these meatballs without even like eating them and then just freezing them, so you have them on hand if somebody comes over, because when you defrost them, it's super simple to do. So freezing food is one of the best ways to preserve food, and it really does make your life a lot easier, because you can grab stuff out of the freezer that you've already prepared, and you can do things in bulk. So you're actually saving time and money in the kitchen. And bringing it back is really easy once you learn how, and that's what I'm gonna teach you how to do. So let me finish up the rest of these meatballs. Then we're gonna bake them in the oven for about 20 minutes. And then they'll be nice, and they'll have like a nice little brownness to them. And then I'm gonna show you how to prepare this blue cheese drizzle or dressing that goes with them. And if you don't like blue cheese, that's fine. Like my kids like ranch better than blue cheese. So you can always make ranch dressing too, or you can use anything that you like. That's the beauty of cooking what I call on top of the stove. It's not like baking where everything's so precise, and if you don't use the right amount of baking soda or baking powder, you don't end up with the good end result. Bottom line is, if you don't like celery, don't use it, put spinach in them. If you don't want ground chicken, use ground turkey, use whatever you want. We're almost done here. What did I say, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 we got. So we got 15 out of 1 pound of ground chicken. If you want more, you can make them a little bit smaller. If you want less, you can make them a little bit bigger. And if you don't want to use these as one bites and you really like them, then make big meatballs, just like you would regular meatballs. And it actually adds a really different twist to like spaghetti and meatballs. So I make this for my family all the time. And again, the freezing part makes it so simple. I travel a lot and I have a husband and 2 big boys. My boys are both 6'3" and my husband's 6'6", and boy can they eat. And I feel so comfortable that when I leave to travel for business or whatever, I have stuff in the freezer and they know how to defrost it properly because I do it all the time. Okay, so we're gonna take these guys and we're gonna stick these in the oven for 20 minutes at 350, and we're gonna let them cook. So while they're cooking, we're gonna make this 2-ingredient blue cheese dressing, and it literally is 0% non-fat Greek yogurt, which I love, and I love the Greek yogurt because it has a really thick consistency. But if for some reason you can't get Greek yogurt or you have regular plain yogurt at home, it's super simple to get a thicker consistency. All you do is you take your yogurt and you put it in a colander and you put a bowl underneath it and you stick it in the fridge. And you can stick it in the fridge overnight, and in the morning you'll see all of this water at the bottom of the bowl and the yogurt itself will have a thicker consistency. So if you have yogurt at home, just try it and then put the yogurt back in the fridge and you have a thicker yogurt. And I always use plain for anything, even like a breakfast yogurt parfait that I want like vanilla or raspberry. This is the foundation. You have the plain yogurt and then you can build on it, and you're in control of the amount of salt, the amount of sugar that's in your yogurt. So I'll put like some jelly in there or a little bit of honey and some pure vanilla extract. So again, that leaves you in control. And then the other ingredient is crumbled blue cheese. I love blue cheese. My mother's favorite cheese. From when we were very little kids, me and my sister, my sisters, I have 2, my mother, we had blue cheese. And it was just crazy. I mean, we were like 8 years old and loving blue cheese. So you're gonna mix it together. And if you want, you can add a little bit. There's salt in the cheese, so I wouldn't add salt, but you can add some really nice, freshly grated black pepper. And that makes a really nice dip for this. Now, with the celery, we're gonna use celery at the end when we're ready to plate it. So if I'm serving this to company, I like to chop the celery very finely and then just kind of sprinkle tiny little pieces of celery on top of the meatballs with the hot sauce and the blue cheese. Another thing you can also do is make skewers. So when they're done cooking and while they're still warm, you can just plop this right into your meatball, and I'll show you, and then you have like a little celery skewer for the meatballs, and you can just kind of put it on a platter and everybody can grab their own meatball that has a celery skewer, which is kind of cool. So I'm just gonna show you the way we chop it, just for what we call garnish at the end, which is just a fancy word for saying stuff that makes it look pretty. So you're just taking your celery and chopping it up. I'll add a couple of the leaves too, so we have some extra color, because sometimes the leaves are a little bit darker than the celery itself. So we're just gonna sprinkle on top when the meatballs are cooked. And that's that. So as soon as they come out of the oven, I'm gonna put them in a nice bowl, add a little bit more hot sauce, maybe a couple celery skewers, some blue cheese, and I'll show you how simple it is to serve it. And then I'm gonna show you how to freeze it. Okay, well the meatballs are still cooking, so what are we waiting for? Let me tell you about the frozen part. So I made a batch of meatballs already. I served them to my family or my friends, I can't remember which one it was, and then I put them in the freezer. And here's all you do. You just get yourself an airtight freezer container. If your container is not meant to be in the freezer, you can put it in that container and wrap it in saran wrap and stick it in a Ziploc bag, which gives you that added layer of protection, because the key is you don't want like freezer burn or it to taste, funny from being in the freezer. And the beauty of freezing is that you can pretty much freeze anything indefinitely. It's not dangerous for you to have things frozen for too long, but you can lose the integrity and the flavor of it. That's why freezing things properly is extremely important. So these are the meatballs, and let me grab a bowl. And we're just gonna kind of pretend, they're frozen right now, they're frozen, but we're just gonna kind of pretend that they're defrosted. So when you bring them back to the table, you defrost them in the refrigerator, and then all you do is you add a little bit more hot sauce to them. You toss them around a little bit, And then you can stick this directly in the oven. I wouldn't use this bowl. I would use something like the baking sheet so they're all spread apart, and wouldn't even be able to tell the difference from the ones that I'm making right now and the ones that were in the freezer. It could be 2 weeks ago, a month, or even 2 months ago. Okay, so I'm gonna clean this all up and wait for these meatballs to be done, and then I'm gonna show you how to serve them. Okay, so I'm gonna get the meatballs out of the oven and show you how to plate them before we move on to the deviled egg recipe, which is amazing. Who doesn't love deviled eggs? So when you're making any kind of like buffalo meatballs or one-bite meatballs, it totally depends on your own preference whether you want them browned or not. For this particular dish, I don't like them too brown. I like a little tiny bit on the top, but I kind of like them not to be like a browned meatball. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna take your meatballs gently. You could dump them if you want, but I don't want any of them to break or anything. And you see how they're flat on the bottom? I like that actually, because when you put them on a platter, they sit. They sit really nicely with a skewer or a toothpick or a celery stalk. So let's put these all in here. And then all you're gonna do is you're gonna add just a little bit more hot sauce. Not too much, or as much as you want, but I like a lot, so I'm gonna add quite a bit there. Look how pretty that is. And then you're just gonna kind of swirl them around, toss them gently, get them all covered with the hot sauce. And then you're gonna put them on your plate. Look at that, oh my gosh, they look so good. Then you're just gonna put them on the plate, and again, because they were flat on the bottom from the baking dish, I totally don't mind that. It makes them stand up better, especially when you have somebody passing them around. Look how pretty they look. You can even pile them on top of each other. Oh my gosh, yummy. Yummy, yummy, look how pretty that is with the celery leaves showing through. So then we're gonna take this blue cheese drizzle, well, this blue cheese dressing. Now, if you want, you can put this into a food processor with the blue cheese and the yogurt and get it really, really smooth, and then put it in a zip top bag, and you can kind of pipe that over that if you want. But I like the look of the 3 different colors with the red from the meatballs and the green from the celery and then the white from the sauce. So then you're just gonna put this sauce in the bowl. Depending on how you wanna do it. And then you're gonna take your little, remember the celery leaves and the celery, we can put a little bit on top of there. We can put a little bit here. And then, again, if you want, you can use the celery as a skewer. You're just gonna pop that in there, boom. And then you hand that to somebody, and that's their one-bite buffalo or fiery chicken meatball. Enjoy. Okay, so I'm gonna set this off to the side because in this episode, we're gonna have 3 one-bite appetizers that's gonna make your next party amazing. And the party a month later, because all this is gonna be frozen. You're gonna love it. Okay, so there we go with the fiery chicken meatballs. So let me just put this stuff away because I like to try to keep as neat as possible while I'm cooking. It doesn't always happen, but I do. Deviled eggs. So, super simple. Take your eggs, boil them up, and then you peel them. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna take each deviled egg, each egg, hard-boiled egg, and then just cut them in half. And then we're gonna take the yolk out and put it in a food processor. So I'll start with the front of the knife, which is gonna get all the yolk on it. And then I'll go to the middle with the next one. Go down it with the middle. And then for the last one, I'll get closer to the handle. Eggs get a bad rap. The whites are a great source of protein. There's only about 18 calories in an egg white. And the yolks have like choline and vitamins and all kinds of wonderful nutrition that is extremely important. So my philosophy really is everything in moderation, especially things that have good properties and some have bad properties. Eggs have cholesterol, but they don't have saturated fat. And it's the saturated fat that seems to affect your cholesterol more than the actual cholesterol that you eat. Okay, so these are all done. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take them, I'm not even gonna put them on a sheet, I'll just take this whole cutting board, and then we'll just take this over to the sink and just take a moment just to kind of run the water and just rinse them out. Get the yolky part out so that they look nice and white and there's no yolk showing. No yolks. So we're gonna rinse these out, And what I'm doing, I don't have to get it all out of the inside. I just want to get it off of the white part. And then we're going to lay them on a paper towel lined baking sheet. So here we go. We have a baking sheet that's lined with paper towels, and you're just going to let them sit over there while we do the insides, the yolk, the devil part. So that's 12 halves from 6 eggs. I think it was 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 8. Okay. So here is the deviled egg part. Super simple, just a few ingredients. So what we have is we have the egg yolks in the food processor, and we have some mayo. You can use Greek yogurt if you like. You can use sour cream, whatever you want. Just something that's gonna make it a little creamy. A little bit of onion powder. You don't want whole onions because they'll be too sharp, like fresh onions. Dijon mustard, which is to me a must and really makes it. And then relish. My mother always put relish in the deviled eggs. I love relish. And then that's it. And then what we're gonna do, oh, and a little bit of black pepper because I think it really needs it. Okay, so then we're gonna just put this, we're gonna blend this up. There we go. And then you can scrape the sides down. And if you feel you need more, mayonnaise, sour cream, or yogurt, just add it. I kind of like to play it by ear because this is one thing that if you put too much in to start off, you can't really fix it because you don't have any more egg yolks to work with. So you have to kind of play around with the amount of, mayo or sour cream or whatever you're using. There we go. Let that go up a little bit. Let that go. Okay, so that's good. So we're gonna take this now. Yeah, that's actually perfect. And we are going to put this into a zip top bag. This makes it so easy and it makes it pretty. If you have a pastry bag, that's great. If not, and you wanna just don't feel like, going out and getting one, just use a Ziploc bag. I use them all the time. That's another thing that makes life easy. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your mixture, get it all out. Okay, looks great. And then we're gonna put it in this bag. I have a little trick to show you. This makes it really easy. You take a glass, just as long as the bag can go over the rim of the glass, and then you're gonna push the bag like that. That way you're not like fighting with the stuff to try to get it inside the bag. So watch how easy this is. Then you just go like this, and you push it into the bag, and you're not making a mess either because nothing's worse than when all this goopy stuff is at the top of the bag. So you just put it in there like that. Super simple. Whoop. And that's that. And now watch how easy this is. Then you just lift the bag out of the glass and it's all down the bottom instead of at the top. Get the air out. And then you're gonna go take a little tiny piece out of the corner. If you had a pastry bag, you could use a tip that has like a star on it, but this works just as well. So you're gonna take a little piece out of the corner, and then we're gonna take our eggs and we're gonna flip them over onto a platter, like a serving platter. After you do all these, I'm just gonna do a couple to show you. So here we go. So you've got this, you're gonna bring it all the way down to the end. You see how this became a pastry bag? And then you're just gonna go right in and go around in a circle. And that makes it so much easier. And it's so yummy. That relish gives it like a tang. And let me tell you, the kids love it. So we're gonna go through all of these, and then I'm gonna plate it. And then as you go down, you're just gonna push it from the side and push it all down. It's fun too. It's like art. Just make sure you make the hole big enough. And you can fill them as high or, as much as you want. It's funny at the end, if I have any left over, I'm gonna show you, if of course it freezes, great. But something that I like to do is my dogs love of the deviled eggs. So sometimes when they're standing next to me, I will literally just squeeze it in their mouth if I don't have any onions in it. Okay, now we're gonna take some paprika. I like smoked paprika. It gives it a really pretty color because it's nice and rich and the flavor's nice and sharp. You're just gonna sprinkle them with paprika and then put them on a serving platter and we're good to go. Okay, so then you just put them on the plate. I like this. You see how the thicker white part, and then you've got where the yolk is? You're just gonna put the white part to the outside. It makes it easier for your guests to grab. And if you want, you can do them around the edge of the outside so that people can grab them. And then on the inside, sometimes I like to throw like a whole bunch of olives in there. Pretty, delicious, and you can be very inventive and make them all different ways. Look at that. Okay, so we have that. And if you have leftover yolks, it freezes great. Any leftover yolks, it freezes. You put it in a zip top bag and then you label it. And what you can do with this, because obviously you're not gonna have any more of the egg whites, they make great little tea sandwiches. You can use like a piece of toast, or a toast point, and then pipe this onto it with maybe a caper and a little bit of smoked paprika. So you can get a whole different type of appetizer out of just the leftover yolks that you have. And that's it. And when we come back, I'm gonna show you a sweet potato bruschetta that is so delicious. You're gonna love it. So, sweet potato bruschetta. I love bruschetta with the tomatoes and the basil and the salt and the vinegar. It's so good. But adding a little twist with sweet potatoes really gives it a different type of texture and just kind of like takes it to a different level. And it's so easy. So you're gonna take a sweet potato and you're gonna peel it. So I already peeled this for you, but I don't have to show you how to peel a sweet potato. You just use a peeler and get the skin off. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it. We're gonna do a very small dice. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this bread and we're gonna slice it and we're gonna toast it and we're gonna pile this bruschetta on top of it. So let me just show you what you're gonna do. Depending on the size of the dice is how thin or thick you're going to make your slices. So I want a little dice because I want it to kind of pile nicely on top of the bread. Okay, so now we have evenly thin slices, and then we're just gonna go straight across this way, or lengthwise, however you wanna call it. Then we have perfectly even and symmetrical pieces, which I like with certain things. Certain things I don't, but usually, if I'm gonna cut the tomatoes, when I cut the tomatoes, I'm gonna cut them in about the same size, so it's nice and uniform. So here I have a 10-inch chef knife, which is perfect for this because I'm using a lot of space here. So the knife's a little bit longer. There. And when you get to the end, you just kind of rough it up. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these sweet potatoes, put them in a mixing bowl. Look how cute they look. Put them in a mixing bowl, and then we're gonna add some flavors and then roast them off. So what we have is, let me put this over here so it's not totally in your way. A little bit of olive oil. Love a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. You don't need a lot of it. Some thyme, dried thyme. Some dried basil, which gives it a really nice flavor. And then we're gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. A hit of coarse salt and a nice hefty pinch of freshly ground black pepper. Then we're gonna mix this up, and that's gonna give it some really nice flavor once we roast this off and all of the caramelization of the sugar inside of those sweet potatoes gets really nice and flavorful. Sweet potatoes are really good for you. They're packed with like vitamin A and fiber and minerals and nutrients. So good for you and so delicious. So you're gonna put them in an even layer on a baking sheet, just like that. Then you're gonna pop them in the oven and roast them at 350 for about 10 minutes. Don't do any more than 10 minutes because they're gonna cook really quick and you don't want them to be super mushy. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven. And here's some that were already done. So these are finished, and I'm gonna put these back into the bowl. Love parchment paper. I'm obsessed with it. It keeps your baking sheets nice and clean. Nothing sticks. I just love it. Okay. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a tomato, a nice ripe tomato. It smells so good. I'm from New Jersey, and we are the tomato state. I love tomatoes. I grow them in my backyard. I have all different kinds. So I'm doing, if you notice, I'm making the same sizes. The same size, I don't waste this, I'm gonna show you that. The same size as the sweet potato, so we're just gonna go straight down, just like we did with the sweet potato, gently, and then turn them. And then we're gonna get our little perfect squares. Obviously, we don't want to roast these because you want that nice freshness. And with this piece, I'll put it the cut side down and then just kind of go across. I don't like to waste anything. I like to use it all up. So we're gonna toss the tomatoes in with the sweet potatoes that have been roasted. Then we're gonna add some fresh basil. Oh, this is just the key here. Some fresh basil. I'm gonna add a little hit of brown sugar, just a tiny little bit of it, just to give it a little bit of a sweetness that kind of pulls out the sweetness of the sweet potato. And instead of red wine vinegar, I'm gonna use balsamic vinegar because I think it really adds a very deep richness to the real fullness of the sweet potato with the tomato. So you're gonna put that all together. Oh, smell-o-vision would be great right now. It smells so good. And it is as simple as that. You're gonna leave this on the countertop for about 15 minutes to let the flavors all meld together. This is when it comes to bruschetta, I like the idea of having the bread on the side and having the mixture in a bowl so people can make their own. Look at that. Oh, and it smells so yummy. And you're getting nutrition and just a total twist on flavor. And then for the bread, all you're gonna do, you're gonna use a serrated knife because it's what you need to cut bread. You're gonna cut this, wow, this baguette looks great. I like to cut it on the bias or at an angle because it looks really pretty. And I'm just gonna show you a couple. You're gonna cut a few of them. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna put them in an even layer on a baking sheet and spray it with some olive oil spray. And then you can stick that in the same oven for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then when it comes out and it's like crusty and brown, you're just gonna take a garlic clove, cut the end off of it, and just rub them. Just a little rub. And that little rub, it makes all the difference. And then once you're all done, you just serve them right on the side. This is also great. You can use this in pasta as well. So this makes a really nice toss in for pasta. And what else does it do? It freezes great. So all you do is you take a freezer safe container. I'll show you. And you can see right there all those beautiful colors. And then to get it out, you just run it under water. You're gonna get the water so it's gonna be nice and warm so it'll pop out. And then you're just gonna pop it out and it comes directly out just like that. Stick it in a bowl, let it defrost, add another hit of extra virgin olive oil, maybe a little salt and pepper, maybe another hit of balsamic, and you've got yourself a quick and easy appetizer or something you can toss into pasta to make an entire dish. Well, that'll be a wrap. So tune in next time to Fresh to Frozen and Back, where I show you how to prepare delicious meals, freeze them properly, bring them back to the table at another time, and you would think you just made it fresh. Please go to my website, dianehendricks.com, and social media is all the same, dianehendricks.com, and share this episode with people that you love or people you think would enjoy it. I'll see you next time.